Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Coming up the show now is Yoni Mazor. You'll know Yoni from GETIDA. He's out at the events all the time. You've probably seen him on social media. We've known each other now for a couple of years, so I thought it'd be quite good to get his perspective on his life as an entrepreneur, and we'll go into doing his in depth. Now, a lot of people in the community know who he is, and he's been a friendly face. You kind of see how the man is developed today into his entrepreneurial life and where it come from the very beginnings. Life can be like a ball game of snakes and ladders. You go up, you go down, and a lot of the elements of this really is consistency, determination, staying in the game, biting down on your gum shield and stuff. So today I'm going to try and etch out Yoni's story and see where it takes us towards the end. Welcome to the show, Yoni.
Thank you so much, Danny. Glad to be here.
You're more than welcome. So before we start, last time I see you, I think you was on the road in a 90-day window. Like, I'm doing a world tour this year, but I like to come home. I'm not doing that manic on the road non-stop. But you've been touring all the conferences as well. What was your most amount of consistent days on the road?
Uh, I think it was like around 2 weeks from end to end before I saw the home. So I went to the UK. I went to see you actually. I
Yeah,
saw you in London, and then it was straight to Mexico, and then Las Vegas. So it was about I think like around 14 days.
yeah. But no, there was a run though. You'd done a run of conferences. When I see you, I think it was speaking to you or Rob, but wasn't it? There was a 90-day window where you spent more
Yeah, that
time
was
on the road than off the road.
exactly. So that time window. So that's 2 weeks consecutive. But yeah, it was a 90-day window where it was just what happened was everybody that had an idea for a show or a conference during COVID finally felt comfortable enough to unleash.
Yeah,
So we're all of a sudden woke up in a situation where it's like it's a chain reaction. It's one event after the other. So for about 90 days, I think they're only home like 17 days or something like that. It was pretty
yeah,
aggressive. Yeah.
yeah. No, that was what I was going to get to, and basically that just truncated because you'd secured, you booked all these events, you agreed to them, which was in a spaced out calendar, but then everyone come running out the blocks to get their conferences and events running. So where you stay committed to that, obviously it put you on the road for
Quite
70
some
plus days.
time. The thing is that I was chasing all these events, but there was more events at the same time, so I had to spread the team. It wasn't just about me; it
Mm,
was a whole team effort where we had to cover all these events.
mm.
So it was pretty interesting.
Cool. All right, let's take you back to the very beginning. Yoni, as a boy, 5, 6 years old, talk to me, earliest memories there.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Israel. 1984, I was born. So it was around 1990 when I was 6 years old. I think I just penetrated into the first grade.
Mm,
And interestingly enough, we had a war with you. We didn't really have a war, but there was the Gulf War between Iraq and the United States and the coalition because Iraq penetrated, I believe it was Kuwait.
mhm,
And then first grade, I'm all nice and fresh, but I have to go with the mask on. We had like these chemical masks because we're afraid that we're gonna get
mm.
bombed with chemical warfare. So that's my earliest memories. I'm in first grade, but then every time everywhere I go, I have this mask on me, and especially when I go to the bathroom during school, there's a chaperone walking me, and I have this mask. So it's pretty surreal, but overall it was good. I started to learn my Hebrew alphabet.
Yeah. And earliest influences that shaped you as a businessman today. So did that come from your parents? Were your mum and dad entrepreneurial, or, who was the one out of the two that kind of led that entrepreneurial spirit, or is it both?
I would say more on my father's side. My mother was a government employee. She was a social worker, so it was pretty framed work. But my father is a lawyer, so has his own practice, his own office. So he always had to kind of take his own initiative. But one layer above that was my grandfather from from my mother's side. Actually, he was an entrepreneur. He was a very successful businessman. He was into manufacturing, leather garments and leather jackets. So he had a good influence on my father also. When they first got married, my parents, his influence was, don't be afraid to open your own practice, your own firm. The first few years are going to be very, very hard. You're going to be dry, maybe no business, but don't worry, just do it. Believe in yourself, which you did, and then so it's kind of two layers above me that definitely I felt the penetration of influence.
Yeah. Our parents always have quotes all the time. What was drummed into you as a kid? Like certain things they would say over and over again.
Just don't be afraid.
Yeah.
I was very privileged to have a good mindset with my parents. Just confident. I felt they're confident, Because of that, I had my confidence in just trying new things. If it's sports, if it's music, uh, whatever it was, compared to other parents that I can see from my friends who were very, very framed. This is the path. This is the lane. You should be in it. They don't kind of have cross-eyed. My parents are more broad. They think very broadly, and they see, look around you, see where you feel comfortable, where you feel you can succeed, and if you want to give it a shot, give it a shot.
Yeah. And school, did you play well with school, or did you get bored, or, a good student? Let's starting from the early days, up till 10, 11, 12. What was the developments there for you?
So school, I was okay. I wasn't the best. I wasn't the worst. I was kind of in the middle. At times, I used to get very bored or lose my concentration. I just in class I would space out for some reason. I was much more fond of sports, playing sports. I used to play a lot of soccer. I was in a soccer team, but also I loved music. Since third grade, I started playing piano. I had a private teacher, and I learned it for about 6 years. So from third grade all the way to about ninth grade, and then I added on guitar, and then I used to be in a band. So during junior high and high school, I was also very focused on playing music, creating music with my friends, just hanging out. So the balance of thing was okay at school, okay at music, okay at sports. So it was a good blend.
Yeah. And so let's get into that. So secondary school, or as we called it back in my day, I'm a bit older than you by a long way, actually. So how did you perform there? Did you kind of know what you want to do? You mentioned that you're into music. Like I was into music. I was in music industry for about 15 years, and that's all I wanted to do as a kid. So like anything else I was disinterested, or football and boxing, I like those as well. And you said you had like an even balance there. But is there anything that stood out for you at school? Is it just mainly as you got into that secondary school level before leaving?
So just help me with the secondary. Which grade is that?
Well, it depends. Like when I was at school, we went to senior school or secondary school, you'd leave your junior school at 11. But now you've got year X, Y, Z. I never keep up with it. Like my daughter's in year 12, 14. I had no clue what
Yeah,
they're talking
let
about.
me help you with, let me simplify it and put you into the Israeli system as I know it.
Yeah,
So I only went to two schools growing up. I went to elementary school, which was first grade all the way to sixth grade, and then I switched to the second school. And the second school was also 6 years. It was from seventh grade all the way to 12th grade, where I graduated high school, and then I moved to the next station. So I was pretty much in only two schools. The first school was public, as a lot of kids, boys and girls, it's all good. But when I went to the next school, it's the seventh grade, it was already a different world. Why? Because I'm an Orthodox Jew,
yeah,
so I keep the Sabbath and everything. So they separate out. I did not have any girls in the school, so it's a boys only
all
school,
boys.
all boys. That's first thing. Second thing, it was a brand new school. I was the first grade, the first class, the first layer. I never had anybody above me, any other classes or layers above me in school. So the whole school was kind of an experiment, to be honest,
Hmm.
and that influenced me a lot. As students, we were one class, and we had a very influential principal of the school who created the school with a certain vision and a certain quality and level. And there was always classes above me, so every year there was more and more classes adding. But today it's a very, very successful school. A lot of great talent came out of there. A lot of influential people in terms of business, army, and politics also from that school. And I'm proud to say I was kind of the first class. So that was a little bit of the mindset that I had being inside the school. Once again, I wasn't the best school student. I
Hmm.
wasn't the worst. I was kind of in the middle, hanging, hanging by. So that was kind of the school track. You want me also to touch the music and sports at the same time, or?
Yeah, yeah. Let's carry on. This is because we're building out your story on a timeline now.
Got it, got it. So that was kind of the school. So we always had to kind of lead in a way and be we had a lot of eyes on us. We're like in a laboratory. So what is the results of this experiment? So I'm glad to say it was successful. Um, Sports, I was in my town. They had a sports team in terms of the football or soccer here in the United States, and I was pretty good. But I played all the way to like ninth and 10th grade, where I was drawn more to the music side of things. I had my best friend even till today. He was also the best man in my wedding. We kind of studied guitar together. We learned how to play guitar, and we started our band. And we focused on our own music. We created our own music. Of course, in the first shows that we did cover songs just to become upbeat and bring some flavor. But eventually, it turned out to be our own songs. I loved it a lot. I was very passionate about it, but I was very realistic that when I'm gonna hit after high school, the reality is in Israel is that we simply go to the army.
Yep.
So we got to go. We got to serve the country for 3 years, and we said, okay, let's survive this 3 years. Let's see what's gonna happen because it's in our neighborhood. There's a lot of action going on. You never know what's gonna be. So after the army, we'll see where life takes us.
Yeah,
But
before we go, I'd like to dig deep into the army because obviously a lot of the generations, I'm 47 this year. A lot of our generations have skipped that. Was it mandatory for you
yeah,
back then? You didn't have a choice. You left school, you do 3 years in the military. Yeah.
correct.
Which is, yeah. So let's take that back a
Here's
little.
a little thing, a cultural thing in Israel, just so you guys
Yeah.
give you a little
Yeah.
insight. Every baby that's born in the state of Israel, the parents always say, "Oh, my baby is not going to serve in the army. Hopefully,
Mm,
by the time we get there, it's going to be peace on earth." So my
yeah.
parents had that wish. I have that wish for my children, even though I'm here in the United States. But I plan to someday to go back. So if I do go back, my children will be there, and if they're 18, I wish there will be peace, and they're not going to have to go. But reality is that the conflicts linger and continue, and I did go. So yeah, you
Mm.
wanted to ask more in depth about the army, or
Yeah,
you wanted
let's
to
go.
start before that?
Yeah, no, I want to go into this because that discipline and stuff that build people and the character. Like we live in a culture, we live. People don't understand this because of the news and social media. Most is perpetuated. Is bad news travels faster than good news. But we now live in the safest time known to man and woman. But if you turned on the news, you wouldn't think that. So if
That's
you
true.
go back 100 years, or my granddad was on the Brengan carrier in the Second World War, and he served. He was on the battlefield, took a shell, came home to his family. A lot of men and women didn't, who were involved in and around that infrastructure. So for someone, because you're still a boy at 18, so it's been made mandatory. I'd just be interested in understanding those dynamics because I think it really does help structure your character and being able to deal with adversity and discipline at such a young age. Because let's be honest, we wrap our own children up in cotton wool, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they
for
would
sure.
never experience anything like that. Even like our young kids don't do combat sports no more, or because they all sit on their phone. Cool, but they sit indoors on the phones. There's no going out on the
It's a
bike.
much
There's
more
no.
delicate generation. I'll put it
We
that
are
way.
in a different world, and probably people listen to the podcast who are a lot younger will turn around and say, yeah, you just, back in my day. It's not coming from that perspective, but I'm just talking about from the characteristics as it builds you as an entrepreneur, and it strips any form of entitlement and what went on before you that prepares you very well for entrepreneurship. So let's take it back to you turned 18. Did you get good grades and stuff? What did we
Yeah,
talk?
yeah. I was, like I said, average.
Yeah.
I was very, very central. In the middle. In the middle, in terms of grades, I wasn't spectacular. But I
Yeah.
do want to give you a thread that connects to the army. So,
Cool.
growing up in the early 2000s, it was really rough time in Israel in terms of terrorism. It was a whole
Yes.
outbreak of terrorism.
Yeah.
So the reality was that every time I take a bus or go to a restaurant or pretty much go outside, there's always a fear that something's gonna happen and something not
Yeah.
good. Usually explosions. So a small example, like the mindset, because Israel, it's an amazing country because it's full of conflict.
Mm,
On the one hand, I look back into my childhood. I'm very fond of it. I felt like a
mm,
great childhood. And I was very privileged. But like I mentioned, there was a war with Iraq, so I had to go with like this chemical mass. And then
mm.
growing up, every time I took a bus, I had to kind of figure out where should I sit in the bus. So just in case if it blows up, I just get hurt. I'm just gonna get hurt. I'm not gonna die or anything like that. Because one of the buses that I took every day to school did explode, about two stations away where I usually go. It wasn't the same time or day that I took it, but it did explode. And actually, a friend of mine was on the bus. He survived, but he saw the casualties there. So it was full. It's full of violence and fear, but all the same time, it was blended into a culture that just prevails and moves on and it's happy with itself. So that's kind of the a little bit of the spirit there. But yeah, I finished my high school fairly decent. I mean, just basic grade, nothing crazy, nothing special. But what I did do, I decided to go to a special school for 1 year before the army
Mm.
to prepare me for the army because I knew that I wanted to be in the intelligence inside the army. So for a whole year, I studied Arabic, from morning to evening, just study Arabic and kind of flush the mind and go through all these exams and tests and all these things that the army kind of requires. And I was able to get accepted into the intelligence. So for me, it was a moment where I kind of have a clear vision of what I want to do in a big, large organization. And what it was required to get there, and it was a lot of hard work and dedication. So I did that,
Mm.
and then yeah, I got drafted when I was technically already 19 years old, because that 18-year-old I spent for a whole year. By the way, I spent it with my own time and money. It
Yeah.
wasn't like sponsored by the army or anything like that. I felt like I want to do it. Um, So yeah, I was privileged enough to be able to go into the army, into the intelligence units, but it was actually special navy intelligence. We used to go on the boats, on the submarines, and all these vessels, and go out and do all these missions, and that's kind of the high level service that I did within the army.
Yeah,
Unless you want to go a bit deeper, it's up to
oh,
you.
we're going in. We're going in. I want to hear some of these stories. I don't know whether there's anything that you can't share, but you
Yeah,
work
whatever
on
I
this.
cannot share, yeah, but I'll try to give
Yeah,
the
we
essence
have
of the.
boundaries on this show. If you don't want to share, that's cool. But I
Yeah.
will keep pressing and asking questions because I think it's really interesting to the character it's built today. So let's just talk. You mentioned missions and stuff like that. So you've done a year, studied the language night and day, hardcore dedication for that. Paid for it out of your own pocket because you knew you wanted to do that. Well, I mean, what would have been the other option? You want to go into intelligence? Would you have just been out
Yeah,
out
they
in the
so
battlefield
yes.
in front line?
No, it could be. I mean, it's a huge, large organization. They
Yeah,
could do whatever they want with you. So when you come in, they just kind of figure out what, because they got to take everybody. You got to think about it for a
yeah,
second.
yeah,
They
yeah.
always got to figure out. So obviously, a lot of mistakes happen, and you get many times, placed into places where you're not. It's not meaningful service, they call it.
Mm,
So I wanted to know that I'm gonna have a meaningful service, so I just I went for it. I had friends that were in these kind of environments in the army, so I felt, this is something that I gravitate more into. Of course, I had other friends who went to other units and other places where I felt, well, where I'm not sure I can contribute too much. I do have a fond for languages though. So my mother's American, so from a very young age I picked up on my English very, very well. And then I told you I played a lot of music, and in a way I sense that language is like a music. It's like
yeah,
lyrics. The more you're gonna hear those lyrics, you're gonna know more. You're gonna know and understand the meaning and the words of the song. So that's kind of the way I look at languages. So, and I was right. The moment I started learning Arabic, I seemed like I have an knack for it, and I picked it up. And it was good for me. So I needed that instrument to be able to join those units, because in the intelligence, unfortunately, our surrounding are not French. So we didn't need the French. We needed the Arabic language. So it's simply so if I know the Arabic, I can and have a certain level of intelligence and ability to process data and communicate. I'll be accepted and be absorbed in those units. So that was kind of the thought process behind that,
yeah.
because I wasn't the most physical guy. I wasn't like, a knife in my teeth running and storming. I could, but I'm not sure I would be the most useful for
You
the
were
army.
you were trained for that, but you were not frontline combat. You were used for intelligence work, but still, it can be very mucky and dangerous, right?
Yeah, yeah. So when you go into the battleships, it just there's for example, when you go to sleep, there's missiles next to you. There's shells. You're full of ammunition,
Yeah.
for one thing. But also we did. I'm jumping a little bit, but in 2006, a few weeks before I actually was about to end my military service, we had a war with Lebanon.
Hmm.
So one of the ships got hit in the back, and 4 soldiers died. I actually knew two of them. So it was real war, real time. They were shooting rockets at other ships. So it's a different type of battle engagement. It's just, it's like airplanes or ships. They have their own uniqueness. But infantry is usually the immediate thing that most people think of, because you see all these movies. You see
Yeah.
Saving Private Ryan, but
Yeah.
don't forget that boat that brought him to the shore. There's a guy driving that boat, or
Yeah.
there's other aircraft carriers or airplanes. So that's more the kind of elements that we were involved with.
Yeah. So let's break down what did a day to day. You got let's talk through. You're assigned a mission. How does that break down? Right, Yoni, you're going here, and what is it? Here's the manifesto. This is the breakdown. Let's talk about it.
So just for you guys to understand, so there was a lot more training for me to get to my actual duty. So
Hmm.
when you go in for the first 2 months, we have basic training. This is just to change the disc or the record. I know you're a DJ,
Yeah.
so you got to change the record. You're not a civilian anymore.
Yeah.
You're a soldier. It means a lot. It means that you're not your own property. So for example, if you hurt yourself, they put you in jail because you're the property of the military. If you lose your hat or your beret, you get fined, you get penalties. If you lose your gun, you get 7 years in prison. So they say your gun is your wife. So I always had a gun in M16. I always have to clean it, maintain it, and never lose it. Hold it really close to myself, and it gives you all that change, that perspective. So you wake up 4 in the morning, they wake you up, they shout at you, wake up. You gotta clean your gun, you gotta clean the tent, you gotta polish your shoes, you gotta. So day after day, just like that, for about 2 months, just to put you into the mindset of, you're a soldier, you're taking orders, you are part of a really large organization. What is this organization? What's the structure? Who's in charge here? All these elements. So basically, you get immersed into the culture. That was 2 months, and then I had 6 months. Just learning a lot into the world of intelligence, a lot of Arabic. That was from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., but all in the framework of cleaning your guns, cleaning your room. It was very, very aggressive, but it was very fun. Meaning it was very hard, but all of a sudden I see people around me, or they're just as determined as I am,
Mm.
and basically my army units and my buddies. Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm okay in saying it, I mean, this is why people end up with PTSD and CPTSD as well, because that there you're having your agency removed. You as a human, you belong to someone else. The
Oh yeah.
screaming and shouting and everything that goes on with you sets off a series of mini traumas, and this is why people kind of leave the army. It's almost like, in some ways, being indoctrinated into a cult. We own you. This is what you're going to do. And then what they're doing is a form of brainwashing to get you programmed ready for war, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
so
then
once you're in the
how do you
battlefield, you're
yeah,
automatic. So things flying over you, but you're so focused on what you got to do, you're not even worried. But when
yeah.
you're gone, and all of a sudden you're a civilian in your house, all of a sudden there's a delta, there's a gap between what happened there, what's happening now. I'm not taking orders anymore, so there's a discord.
That's what I was going to say. How do you deprogram? How do you decompress? How does that kind of
Yes.
did you have that impact as well? Because you're so regimented, being instructed. Then it's like, how do I get my own agency back and return back to Yoni myself?
So what I can say is I wasn't traumatized or anything, thank God. I think what I did was it gave me a lot. Meaning
Yeah,
when you're a soldier for 3 years, you're just complaining all the time. I want to finish with this. This is a nightmare. This is a nightmare. That's
yeah.
kind of the mindset. Once you're done with it, all of a sudden you look back. Hey, you feel like I felt there was a very good thing that happened in my life. It gave me a
Mm,
lot of tools and ability to do things in life. So
yeah.
basically, to put it in short, I was willing to basically put my life on the line just to serve a greater thing, which is my country, which is my society, my
Mm.
culture, which is not really tangible. You can't really touch it, but just it's right. It's something that's really in all of our imagination. And
Yeah.
a country and a state is just something that's
It's in your
artificial.
consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
was willing to do all that and work day and night just for that. But then when I'm out of it, I'm like, okay, now I can really work hard. But that kind of work, it will basically help my life and my family and my surroundings. I'm ready for work. I'm really ready for work. Whatever the mission is, whatever it is, just bring it on. I had much more confidence. Before that,
Yeah.
I was a nice kid, like sports a little bit, like music, but I was soft. I was soft. I was like
It
Jello. You
gave you
just
the
gotta
edge. Yeah. It took away any
definitely.
entitlement and you appreciate everything. And tough times make tough people. Happy times make weak people in most
Yeah,
cases
it brought
because they don't.
humility. I'm a nobody. Like when you
Yeah.
come to the army, it's really no. Doesn't matter how the biggest ever general you ever see was started from scratch,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
reset. So you have to really earn it. You really have to kind of live up to it. So same thing with when finishing the army, you reset your life. So all of a sudden you gotta get education, you gotta get experience, you gotta get something to be able to be successful professionally
Mm,
or culturally or socially, whatever it is. So looking back, it gave me a lot. Just to kind of recap on the 3 years. So 6 months I got training in that, and then I got another 2 months training in the Navy just to be in a part of the Navy. What is the Navy? What are all the vessels? Then another 6 months of training in duty just to understand all the machinery, all the stuff that's inside. So I would say over a year of training, and then 2 years I actually served at the role. The role was, like I said, you go into all these army bases and all these vessels. It could be ships or submarines. When you get a mission, the mission, whatever the mission is, you assemble a team, usually small teams, and there's a mission a commander. It could be myself. It could be my buddy from my unit. So we know the hierarchy. So this is the group for this mission. This is the boss or this is the manager. That's what's going on. When we go at it, we do it. It wasn't already so highly trained. It was a second nature to us. It wasn't an issue, and everything was kind of going okay until that war came in, which brought a lot of drama, a lot of darkness, a lot of black. But eventually it subsided after like around 40 days. That was kind of my way out in the army, which is a little bit bewildering,
mm.
but nevertheless, I didn't lose my
Mind.
my
You didn't
mood.
lose
Yeah,
your
yeah, I didn't lose my mind.
mind.
I kept
Yeah.
good faith and just went at it. So that's kind of the closure of the 3 years.
Okay, so can you talk about the most darkest, scariest moment there? Like when you literally it's fight or flight. Because you've been trained to do these things. I always say to people, is that you never know. It's the same with boxers; they can melt under the lights. You go on stage, melt on the lights. You could be a footballer and then can't deliver on the pitch and stuff. With in the army, you're not going to know, or if you're in a street fight or any of these things, you never know until it happens. And in that split seconds, do you fight or you're going into flight or fawn mode? And you'll never know until you've been in that experience. So talk me through some of those tough experiences that you faced, if you can.
Yeah, so there's nothing in combat because I was in infantry, and when you're on the boat, things are pretty
Yeah.
remote. But one distinct memory that I have is the fact that we had the war with Lebanon, it was a double layer threat because we, of course, we had the threat at being soldiers and especially at sea, which I mentioned that some of the vessels got hit, but also when you're at home, there was a threat because what happened was they were threatening the whole northern Israel with rockets, thousands and thousands of rockets just handing, just landing. So the whole northern area, a lot of more than 1 million people had to kind of migrate to the center to be away from the threat. I happened to have family in the north, so they came to our house for a month and just lived with us because of that fear. But all of a sudden, suddenly they realized they have rockets that can go even to the center. So the threat was very imminent from all fronts. So it was very somber. The whole feeling was, where is the next hit gonna happen? And we're striking hard, we're fighting, but you don't know how to balance it, and it gives you. And I'm a soldier. I'm supposed to help the citizens. So it
Mm.
puts you in a position where, how much more can I help? What can I do? It's very confusing. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But that was almost like
Cognitive dissonance is like it's just when you start to lose the sense of self going on around you, where the confusion kind of kicks in. Yeah.
yeah,
So
it's sense
that's
of
like
security. When you lose
CPTSD.
sense of security, I don't want to compare anything, but I have a my heart goes out to the people in Ukraine, where
Yeah.
their sense of security completely evaporated from
Yeah.
all the stability in the world, all of a sudden to what's gonna be the next day. In a
Yeah.
way, it was kind of like that, but for me, I'm in the system as a soldier, so I come home with uniform. My family's there. They're living by us, running away from the war. They look at you. What else are you gonna do, you or your organization, to
Mm.
figure this out? But day by day, there are drags and drags and drags. So it puts you in a very awkward position.
Yeah. Oh, totally. So army finishes. Take three takeaways from that experience that have set you up to be where you are today, which is a very, very successful entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, hard work is easy.
Yeah.
Meaning how, like, really hard work, like whatever it is, mission driven. You have a mission, you don't stop, you're relentless until you get it. But also try to enjoy the way. Try to have a good group around you. I have
Mm.
my great buddies, are like my brothers today. I look back, I just have a smile on my face, even though it's so dark and so hard and all these
Mm.
elements. I just laugh because the group that was with me was so good. We're so bonded together. We had
Mm.
even a sense of humor doing it and just like I said, complaining about it. But that drives you forward. So you're not you don't feel like you were in prison, like all in
Mm.
solitary. It wasn't all on you. So you
Yeah.
can do it. You can do it. You have good people around you. So these are like three main elements that I would definitely say that I funneled and channeled to what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
So I think it really helps me a lot.
Well, it's like you've done the hard work, so most stuff now becomes relatively easy, even in a cauldron of, when you're starting up, etc. So Army's done 2006, 2007 time, right?
Correct. Yeah.
What do we do next?
So I worked for about 6 months. I went to work for a coffee shop called it's a chain store. It's called the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. It's I don't know if you have this in the UK, but it's from the United States. I actually went to visit it recently a few months ago. I went to visit Los Angeles. I was there with Mina Elias, and I
Mm.
went to buy their so it gave me I got flashbacks
Yeah,
because they
yeah,
all look the same. All these chain stores. So because here in the East Coast, I don't see them much often. They're originally from the
yeah.
West Coast. So I worked for about 6 months. I saved my money, and then I went to travel the world for another 6 months. So what happens is, it's a very big trend for Israelis after they finish their military service. By the way, it's 3 years for men and 2 years for women. So
Okay.
even the ladies go,
Yeah.
just for you guys to know. So all of us, the men and women, after the army, we usually work and we go travel for at least 6 months, and
Mm.
we go around the world. We go to Asia or Central America or South America. We don't go around our neighborhood because they're not friendly. If they were, it would be easier to just take a car and go to Jordan and then
Mm.
to Iraq. But it's not. It's not a reality this time. So we go pretty far away because the 3 years are very. It's like a crock pot.
Cauldron. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cauldron.
it's a high pressure intensity. So you want to kind of decompress before you start life. And
Yeah.
usually after the trip, you go to uni or university, and then you start your life. You get your degree, and you start your professional route. In the United States, probably in the UK, it's different. You finish high school, then you start your educational
Mm.
process, and then you begin your career. So for us, totally different mindset. We got that army, and we got that big trip after the army just to decompress, and that's what I did. So I saved money for 6 months. I traveled for another 6 months. I chose South America. So I started in Colombia in the north, and I traveled all the way, zigzagged all through the countries, all the way down to Chile and Argentina. Like I said earlier, thankfully I have a fond for languages, so I picked up on Spanish, which
Mm.
later on, even today, which I mean today, helps me tremendously a lot in business and life.
Yeah.
It's a treasure to be able to speak in Spanish. So yeah, that was kind of what I did after the army.
Then where do we go from there? So you've gone round, you travelled, got a bit of life experience from that on top of the army. What was next?
So then my brother called me. He was already in the United States. I always had family here. I got my grandparents and uncles and aunts, and he rings me up and he says, Christmas is coming. That we do. My grandfather passed away already. So my brother and my uncle took over the business, and so there's two units of the business. One of them is manufacturing. We manufacture leather jackets and we sell it to big box stores. And the second unit is it's an outlet store downtown
Mm.
Detroit City. There's an outlet store, so all the factory outlets. We have all these jackets there. So he said, come help me. Come help me. I'm going to need an extra hand over there. The Christmas season is going to be busy. So I kind of actually, I wanted to travel for 8 months, but I cut it short 2 months just to go and help because I kind of did give him my word before I went to the trip. I went, just to be technical, I went from Israel to United States and then from the United States to South America. So when I was in a few weeks for United States, I stayed by his place. We started bonding a little bit. I haven't seen him for a while. He already finished his military service 6 years before I am. He's 6 years older, and he said, I have this business. I'm, with the grandfather business. There's, I need some help. Maybe you can help me. I said, listen, I got to do my thing. I got to decompress. If you ever really, really need me, let me know. I'll come. I'll help you. So that's what
Yeah.
happened. He rigged me up. I had a word, so I gave him the word. So I cut short. My friends kind of stay there actually. So it was a little bit of a tough. Looking back, I was really actually like taking the plane out of Argentina to the United States. I was actually in tears. I was really crying because it was so beautiful. That 6 months that I had, one of the best times in my life ever. And I bonded with all these other people that I never knew before. It was really great. And then yeah, we just went to Detroit downtown. Uh, November was already towards
It's
the Christmas
cold
season.
in Detroit in
It's,
November.
I came with my in
Yeah.
Bolivia. I bought this fleece jacket, and I thought it was like the warmest thing ever. My
Never.
brother,
That
my
would not
brother
enough.
looks at yeah, he looks at me. He's like, I'm in the airport. He looks at me. He's like, yeah, no problem. Try it out. I got shocked with like a wall of freeze. I don't know what it was. Right away, I took a leather jacket from the factory, of course.
Mm.
It was so I got warm. It was a culture shock to say the least to be in South America with all the Spanish and the whole world just is just free. And then all of a sudden to downtown Detroit, it's overcast skies constantly with snow. It was change of beat. But it was pretty cool.
Excellent. So where do we go from here then?
So I stayed there for around a year. I helped out with the business, and then over there I saw how I have kind of more an ability to understand retail.
Yeah.
We did a TV commercials, so I did appear in TV commercials. So if you go into some places in Detroit, I'm a minor celebrity
Hmm.
because of these advertisements that we did. I stayed by my family over there. It was really nice. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the American culture, the urban culture downtown. Just a quick note about Detroit. It used to be one of the most important cities in the world, and
Mm.
in its heyday had about 2 million residents. But today there's less than 700,000. It really decayed. It really became unsuccessful.
Well,
And the reason
I mean, it was the Motor City, wasn't it? And
exactly.
once that trade broke down, it just turned desolate.
Exactly. What happened was it was a boom town. It was a golden town up to the 70s until the Japanese invasions. Toyota came in and Honda and all these cars and Nissan with
Mm.
much more gas oil and fuel and petrol efficient vehicles. And
Yeah.
that was the first nails in the coffin of the dominance of the American brand cars.
Mm.
So yeah, so over the years it was just they didn't really invest in any other industry. It was all about Motor City, all about the car manufacturing. And once foreign companies took the market share, the city kind of decayed. There's also kind of in the 70s, 60s, sorry, it was racial tensions within
Of
downtown. There's
course.
riots,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that created the expansion of the suburbs. So around the city really grew and became very affluent, but the city itself kind of decayed
Mm.
because the factories went out of there, the business went out of there, the population that is strong that was paying taxes came out of there, and so it became smaller in population. It was the largest city in the world ever to file for bankruptcy. It was $18 billion. This was about a decade ago. $18 billion worth of debt that couldn't they have no income to pay it, so they
Mm.
just completely went bankrupt. Today, actually, a decade later, it had a restructure program. It's doing much better, but I wasn't during that peak of the decay. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Pretty dangerous. Also, a lot of crime, a lot of drugs, and then
Oh
needless
yeah.
to say, yeah.
I mean, we also had Motown that come out of there, and I know, from my former music industry times, like Derek May, Juan Atkins, people you may never heard of, but Detroit techno, because techno was originated from the Motor City as well. So it was a very musical city as well.
Oh, big time.
And when I used to speak to the boys, it was like, some of the rundown places is where they'd have very cheap studios. And like, you've got guys like, there's a guy called Mad Mike Banks who lives in the bunker, literally in a bunker, But yeah, it's very, very interesting, the polarizing aspect of, where the hood is versus the affluent areas as well. There's a big break between the two.
Oh yeah, it's very interesting culturally to experience that. About music, just as a tribute, Motown Records was a very
That's it.
successful.
Yeah,
Yeah, they had
Gary
the
Goldie,
Jackson brothers, Michael Jackson's early days,
mm.
Diana Ross, Stevie Wonder.
Marvin
Just goes
Gaye.
on. Yeah, Marvin Gaye just on and on with these beautiful classic music of the 60s, 70s,
Mm.
and which influenced the I think pop culture as we know it today.
Oh, without doubt, it was one of the foundations. So then, where do we end up from Detroit?
So then I enlisted myself to law school in
Right.
Israel. My
Okay.
father's a lawyer, and it seemed very kind of comfortable for me to make a decision just to become a
Yeah.
lawyer, and then I have some sort of a base to go into. So I did. I enlisted myself to law school. I was supposed to start going there, but I did have a friend back from Israel that he was originally also from the United States. He immigrated to Israel when he was like 13, 14, and became a very close friend of mine. He was in North Carolina, and then he was there for a little while, and he was doing very well in business. So he said, you know what? I'm doing okay in business. You got to go to school in a few months. Once you come, you have a few months to spare. Come and work for me. You'll make a little money. So once you're in university, you can have money in your back pocket, save some
Mm.
money. So I said, all right, why not? So can I talk to my father? I said, why not? You have a few months, go kill it, make some money, and then you'll have more money for school. So I did. I came in there, and it was also doing retail in the malls. And all of a sudden, I saw that I have also a good knack for it, a good talent. I just want to take you back. I also was doing a whole year of work in the store downtown Detroit. So I already have these knacks and abilities. I do want to say that I also did retail in Israel with the coffee bean and tea leaf. So, when you're in the coffee store, you can be a barista, you can make smoothies, you can make coffee. They spin you around, but I actually excelled very well on the cash register. I was because one of the number one sales guy, because in the cash register they say, okay, why don't you offer them a cookie with a bundle or
Mm.
for a little piece of cake, or there's records, there's new records by Matisyahu or Guns N' Roses, wherever it was. So I used to just talk about it and sell, sell, sell. So I had these early seeds of ability to do retail pretty well, but this is physical retail.
Yeah.
Don't forget, guys, because later on there comes e-commerce, which is electric retail, right? But yeah, so I came in, I was pretty successful at it. Then they offered me to simply become a partner. So I rang my father. I was like, yeah, don't worry. In Israel, there's no rush to be a lawyer. If you throw a dime in Israel, you're gonna hit 3 lawyers. And if this is something that you feel like you're doing well and you're making good earnings, you should
Mm.
check it out. No problem. Keep rolling with it. Once again, they gave me, like I mentioned earlier, don't be afraid. Don't be stuck into some sort of reality or dogma where only kind of one thing matters. Because if
Mm.
you like, if you was another parent said, no, you're gonna be a lawyer, you're gonna get your degree, you're gonna get your lawyer, and this is the best way in
Well,
life.
your
And
father's a lawyer anyway. He knew that whatever, not mistakes that you made, but he already knew in his own mind. Well, he can work out life for himself. If it doesn't work out on his plan, he can
I'm still
always come and
here.
work for the law
Yeah, it
firm.
was very pragmatic. Yeah, but others
Yeah,
would say, no, you're my son. You gotta
exactly.
start with this. I have a law, I have a law firm, and I want my son to already be the second in command, and to be the second, and you're gonna have the third. Some people think it's a bit of like it's royalty or something. I'm
Yeah.
saying just to compare some of the mindsets of others. But yeah, so I just kept rolling with it. I was there for almost 2 years, doing pretty well financially. Then my brother rang me up again, and he said, I started this new venture. It's a supplement company. It's going to be based in New Jersey. Why don't you, come help me out? Let's do it. So once again, I said, all right, you know what? I cashed out of my retail positions where I had my partnership. I did pretty well. I went to New Jersey, and then I was able to really marry between a new business, a new entrepreneurship experience, but also school. I decided, I'm already kind of lingering my time here in the United States. I should start learning in uni, so I did. So I took a business degree. So it was, but all the time at the same time, also found my wife. So I was kind of trapped in a triangle where I got married. I'm in university. I already have kids, and I have this kind of new venture that I'm working on, and that also involves retail, but also wholesale. We were wholesaling to pharmacies,
Mm.
so I was doing sales and
So
distribution.
wait 1 second. The
Yeah, go ahead.
lawyer thing didn't happen. It was on the
It
map.
never happened. I never became
You
a
never go
lawyer.
there.
I'm
You
not a
never.
lawyer today,
Right.
So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know if I would have become a lawyer. I'll probably be maybe a decent lawyer. I
Mm.
haven't, but for now I don't know. Maybe later. It's never too late. They never, I
Yeah, but
this
why would you be? You're an entrepreneur now, right? You've got what
Yeah,
you're
I'm
going on.
joking. I'm just joking. I
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
know.
I was
You
gonna
never
say.
know.
Yeah.
Life is open. I just small story. There's a gentleman in Israel who got kidnapped by
Mm.
one of our enemies, and he was there for in captivity for years, and he got released in his 60s, I want to say. And then when he got released, he decided, I'm going to go to law school, become a lawyer. So he became a lawyer in
Wow.
his 60s. Yeah, so very odd, but just to show you, sometimes it's never
It's
too
never
late.
too late. Yeah.
Never too late. Yeah. So I do remember that little element. So who knows?
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, I'm already in New Jersey. What do you want to? What would you like me to
Let's
go next?
go. We're just unraveling. So we're in New Jersey. Where are we going next? With supplement company, married. How many children have you got now?
Today I have 3, and we're expecting, God willing, 1 more. So it'll be number 4.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations. Big brood there.
Thank you.
So yeah, you're juggling fatherhood there. You were earning good money then, I take it. So it wasn't
No,
too
so
bad.
actually I wasn't. So when I was in
Okay.
second that framework of marriage, already a child, and in school, which I have to pay for myself, and then work, it was financially it wasn't amazing because there was kind of a new company, it was a new venture. There wasn't not a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
resources that I can tap into to make a living and an income. I wasn't poor or anything, but I wasn't like I was okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't really making bank. But what happened was a few seeds happened which are important for today's story. So
Yeah.
when I was in university, I used to buy my books on Amazon, and very quickly I learned that I have 2 options to get rid of my textbooks. One option I could do trade in. So let's say the book they'll give me $20 credit Amazon, or if I sell it on Amazon, I might be able to sell for $60.
Hmm.
So there's a delta here where I can make more money if I sell it on Amazon. That's
Yeah,
what I
and
did.
they're very, textbooks can go for a lot of money, can't they?
Oh yeah, I'm
Depending on
just
what they
giving
are.
a small sample. Yeah, it could be in the
Yeah.
hundreds, right?
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
a book could be 300 a buy it, and then when I do a trade in, they might give me $40 for it. But if I sell, I can make 250,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of the mindset of life. So I said, I'm gonna take the extra effort. I'm gonna list it on Amazon and sell it. So that was early sprouts and experience for myself selling on Amazon Sell Essential on the platform as a student, which I'm sure probably.
So in irony, as of today, even back then, you weren't going to give Amazon let you shortchange you, considering what
Yes, that's
business you're in.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
I never thought about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
point. Good point.
Go on. Sorry.
Uh, yeah. So I saw the potential. I said, let me maximize on it. So that was early seeds that I had the ability to sell with Amazon. In the company that I was working with, we already had e-commerce presence. We had the website, and then I created a listing on eBay. I created a listing on Amazon. So orders were coming in, and they were coming in from also other marketplaces. So I was involved with the logistics of that. So, but I didn't make much of it because I felt okay. It's like an add-on. E-commerce like an add-on. The main agenda was the physical stores being in there and brick and mortar. Um, then what happened was serendipitously, I think that's the way I want to say it.
Yeah.
I went to the synagogue. Once again, I'm still an Orthodox Jew. I go to the synagogue and I'm going to meet this gentleman. His name is Max Bourne. He's still my partner today, and he's doing accounting. I'm doing the sales and distribution, and we're very passionate in terms of kind of ideas, entrepreneurship, stuff like that. He was and I was already trapped into something like that. He did a few of his own entrepreneurship things, and then we said, this e-commerce and selling online, especially on eBay, we feel like there's more potential there because we saw that I was bringing sales and he was always kind of trying to put his hands on things that he can sell. But what happened was that he was able to become friends with this gentleman in our area where he was a watch dealer, a lot of watches, and over the years he got stuck with a lot of inventory of watches that he couldn't
Yeah.
sell.
Yeah.
So that was an opportunity. We said, okay, he has a lot of money in these watches. Let's list it online, especially on eBay, and sell it and plug his inventory to the marketplace. That's what we did, and we did pretty well. And then he's like, whoa, that was fantastic. Let me introduce you to all the stores in this area where I'm a dealer. I work with them. So we go to all these stores in the New York City area. That's where we live, or New Jersey, the tri-state area. It's New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut.
Mm.
And we asked them, hey guys, do you have any inventory that you're stuck with? They all open their safes and millions of dollars worth of inventory just flushes out. So all of a sudden we're in kind of business. We're like, oh, we have millions of dollars worth of inventory that we're able to put into the marketplace, which was eBay at the time. And then we used to come from store to store with our little light box. It's a mini box where you just light. You can put the watch in there, and I brought the camera, and then we create a whole database of all this inventory of all these watches, millions of dollars worth. And as the orders come in, we ship the label to the store, and they ship it out and everything. So it went out for a while, and it was getting more and more of our attention. We still had our daily jobs. Then we kind of, I think it was 2013 when Amazon opened up the watch category. Until then, it was kind of blocked. You couldn't even sell watches on Amazon. So when they opened up, it seemed natural to us to also list watches on this up and coming marketplace and platform called Amazon. We didn't make much of it, but forget about it. The moment we put our watches there, it was a game over. It was just sucked us in, and we kind of never looked back. It was like a volcano eruption, and we quickly understood how the
What
whole system
what year
works.
was this? So we're on the time.
2013. 2013.
13. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. So
mid
you're an OG.
2013.
You're the pre-15 OG. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I didn't know there's
Well,
there's
most,
time.
a lot of, not most, but a lot of people that you would speak to in the community are 15 onwards. Some are late 14 and stuff, but we called it the gold rush period of that
Got it, got
2015.
it.
You know,
No, it was a bit earlier. Just to be technical, I was ready by 2010, 11 because we did sell those our supplements there, and
yeah,
we're getting
and your
orders.
textbooks.
Yeah, in the textbook, and so we're doing private label. But I didn't make much of it financially because it wasn't
Mm,
really going to myself. I was working in the company, I was involved
mm,
with it, but it wasn't like
yeah,
mine, just
yeah,
per se. But 213 was like really ours. It was us taking the initiative and doing it on a different, completely different scale. It was like
mm.
very, very quickly. It was millions of dollars.
And it was a land grab because you won the, not one of the first, but maybe in the top group of people
I
being
would,
able, watches being available. You're in like straight away. Yeah.
yeah. If this was a rock concert, these people wait all night. I'm the first wave that hits in and gets that front seat into
Yeah.
seeing
You're
this
in the
rock
mosh
concert.
pit.
Yeah, much better. So, looking back, I never realized everything kind of happened very, very quickly. And looking back, you're probably right. I never really thought about it because when they opened the category, we're just ready to go. Not
Yeah.
because,
Timing.
yeah, not because, yeah. Once again, it was faith. Yeah, it was like a land grab. It was like what's funny is I was telling people in 2013, 14, 15. That's what do you do for a living? And very quickly because it was very successful, we kind of detached from our daily jobs and focused just on doing it. I told people I sell stuff on Amazon. So they're like, they thought they were like, poor thing, it's like saying, I sell stuff on eBay.
Mm,
And I'm like, yeah, that's interesting because we're making bank. We're just rolling in millions of dollars, and it's hard to explain. FBI, I couldn't even explain what FBA means. The whole
mm,
thing. So it was like a really good kept secret, I guess, until the eruption of 215, 16, where all of a sudden all my friends calling me, should I be selling on Amazon? Everybody's selling on Amazon, and then that's where the momentum started to go into a different direction in terms of the marketplace. Where I think the pivot was mainly is that most of the OGs, if you like, they were resellers,
mm.
and then the 15, 16 generation are the private label sellers with ASM, the Amazing Selling
Yeah.
Machine. That
Yeah.
was so today the paradigm shifted. I think early day was like 80% resellers and 20% private label.
Mm,
But by the way, I think from the very offset, it was all like close to 100% resellers because Amazon wanted all these brands. So Amazon reached out to all these retailers, put your products on my platform, like, right? So
yeah.
whatever you can source it from. And today, I think I would say probably more than 70% are private label sellers, all right, the brands, and then maybe the rest of them are reselling.
Mm.
So that's kind of the
And that
evolution.
includes Amazon's catalog, what they own, because I think they still sell.
No, Amazon's kind of like a different universe. That's like
Yeah,
1P. I'm talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
3P. Third party
yeah, yeah.
selling
Third
today is
party, yeah,
probably
yeah,
mostly private label selling. The rest is
yeah.
reselling. Amazon's
Mm,
retail team. It's if you sell to Amazon, they send you a purchase order.
that's
That's
right.
its own universe. But also
Yeah,
that is diminishing over time because there's much more weight with the reseller, with the private labels, with the third party sellers.
yeah, yeah, without a doubt. And it's a world of pain. Anyone who's in 1P is just, it's lunacy. So watches, where do we go after? So you made millions from the watches. What you have
So
you?
what happened
Did you
was we realized,
sell the brand or
okay,
you carry on?
no. So we had all these watches we were able to source, and then we said, okay, let's develop into more categories. So we opened up jewelry. So we
Mm,
started selling jewelry, and then it was sunglasses, then outerwear, and then underwear. It was just it became a little department store like a Macy's.
mm,
So just high level, the business grew from zero to 20 million very, very quickly in FBA
mm,
sales. Then we became a part of a larger group that together as a group we're doing like 100 million in sales. So
mm,
some of the stuff we're reselling, some of the stuff were private label brands. It's all a mishmash of everything together. It was like a bull rush. It was like all day long, things coming in, things coming out. I was a COO, a chief operating officer, so I was very, very focused on the operational level, on staying profitable, all the cost structures, all the labor, all the talent, all the employees. Well, my partner Max, who was a CEO, he's more into the, sourcing, the purchasing, the ranking, all the stuff on
mm,
Amazon, and that was kind of the way we completed each other. But what really happened early on is that when we started using FBA, we realized that there's discrepancies. I remember the first shipment we ever did to FBA, which we had to invest our money because before that we can drop ship. It doesn't really cost you much to have inventory. But once we start sourcing our own inventory, I remember it was about $10,000 of our own money, and we
mm,
were like shaking. We're like, "Oh, it's a lot of money for us," and we're gonna ship it to this organization called Amazon, this program called FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon. So we didn't just do it right away. So we said, okay, let's see what the policy is. We were
mm,
so granular. We are so like into the focus. Once again, it's not like today you trust Amazon. We really had no idea who these guys are. So we called it in. We said, what happens with the inventory if something gets lost or damaged or destroyed? What is your policy? We
mm,
said, look here, look there. It's all in writing. There's an insurance policy. We're gonna reimburse you if anything happens. And we learned a lot of things. One trivia fact, if you like, that we did learn is that you're insured with a reimbursement for every unit up to $5,000 worth of value. So if your product is you sent to FBA and it's worth $4,999.99 and it gets lost, they'll pay you that money. But if the price point is $5,000 and one penny and it got lost, they're not gonna pay you
at all.
at all. Zero. Boom. That's a cap. That's where I get
So
the
it's a
cap.
zero-sum game up to
Exactly.
5,000.
Correct. So like, okay, we're not gonna send anything worth $5,000, which we probably cannot afford anyway. So that was okay with us. So lo and behold, we shipped our units into FBA, that $10,000 worth of units. I think it was 116 units, and lo and behold, they only received 113. Like, oh man, that's a few $100 hit. So we go in, we reconcile the shipment, we present the information, and say, oh, we apologize. Here's your reimbursement. And when they did that, for us, it was a milestone because we said, okay, these guys are trustworthy. They're serious. They mean business. Let's unleash. And very quickly, we start selling tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars worth of inventory, and the whole eruption and began. But it began. It was made possible because of that trust that we had with the FBA system, with Amazon, that they're trustworthy, and which they still are even today. I'm glad to say. And then also it created us a reality where we didn't have to have a huge warehouse, $50 million, $100 million warehouse with hundreds of people. Because to do the volume we did, we would have to have a crazy logistical prowess, which we did not have. But Amazon does have, and that is still part of the Amazon magical story, where you can live anywhere and just use their logistical shoulders and really explode and create amazing things.
All right, so let's talk early doors. We're now finally at the peak here. GETIDA, what year was it formed?
So
Officially.
2000 legally of 2015. So what happened was, because we were getting to a level of so much volume, we couldn't use spreadsheets anymore to audit all the information. They were simply breaking. So that pushed us to create software and technology for ourselves to solve the issue, to find the issues at large, right, in scale, but also to create a dedicated team to keep tackling the issue. So the team gets the data, they present it to Amazon, and they manage all the back and forth until there's a solution. Because high level, we discovered that on an annual basis, the discrepancy rate is between 1 to 3% from your revenue. So you're doing a million a year, it's 10 to 30,000. What you're doing as a group, 100 million a year, that's 1 to 3 million. That's material enough to say, hey, we need a full-time solution that never stops because we're in business. We're rolling the dice here. So that was kind of the strategy that we had in mind. So we built that solution for ourselves. So we did that. And then we told our friends from the industry that we have these capabilities. So they told us, help us, we'll pay you.
Yeah.
And that was the early genesis and creation of GETIDA. We didn't know. We said, okay, we'll help them. We'll make some money. That's cool. But the main agenda here.
It was a service prior software rather than software as a service.
We're not a SaaS. So just to highlight, just to recap here. So with the GETIDA, we're not a tool and we're not a software solution. As a solution, we use software and tools that we created to create the solution. The solution is maximum recovery that you're eligible to receive.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're eligible to receive, we know all the guidelines and rules and TOS, terms of service. There's a lot of mathematics involved. It's auditing. It's financial at times. So we find that -1. We present it to the other side. And if they correct it to 0, we're good to go. They sometimes might find the inventory that got lost. We're good to go. But if they don't, they provide a financial recovery, and that's fine as well. That was early.
So for those who don't know, who don't use GETIDA at this stage, break it down. So someone new comes to GETIDA, how does it work for them? I understand it's reimbursements. Everyone gets that, but how does that process break down in terms of the back end team? What's the protocol that you have to kind of go through?
Got it. So what happens is when you connect to GETIDA, there's 4 steps to connect or to set up your account: basic information, API connection, billing information, and then set up a limited user permission. Just like an agency that goes into your account and manages your PPC spend. Exactly. We have the same element, but it's very narrowed down to being able to open cases for you. Or the seller. So that's the setup. And then once we have the connection set up, we're able to go back 18 months on all the data and reconcile all the transactions. So and once we find a transaction that has a discrepancy, it's going to get reviewed by our team. A big part of our team today are former Amazon employees who used to work on the other side in the FBA reimbursements departments. They look at all the data, and if they feel like there's of course something that it's eligible, they're going to reach out to Amazon. They're going to open the case, and there's going to be usually back and forth. Sometimes Amazon would require more further information. We'll provide it. It might ask for documentation. We'll reach out to the seller to make sure they bring it, so we can provide it until there's resolution. That's high level what the experience is. But all that work is translated into a dashboard. So we log in. That's what we it feels like when we're SaaS because there is a platform. So you go and you see all that work in real time. There's a few modules that you can use. If you engage with them, we're going to be able to recover even more. So just like that, we'll recover all the money that we can. But if you give us some more data points, we'll be able to recover even more. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, do you have like milestones from the very beginning when you hit your first 1 million in reimbursements or claimbacks from Amazon that led to reimbursement to Amazon sellers? So do you, if you were to go through it, do you add those milestones?
So let me think about that for that. I never really thought about that. So once again, so the reality was we had a major retail business, and this was kind of brewing in the back end, and it's more like a passion project. So okay, we're helping ourselves, we're helping a few sellers. We wonder how much more we can help. So we did have a dedicated team. I was splitting half of my day, usually in the morning with GETIDA and the nuclear startup team, and then the other half with the retail, and I think we just wanted to be able, I think early on, or very humbly, we're just, let's try to get 100 clients, 100 users. And that was kind of the only milestone that we had in my mind as far as I remember. And once we hit that, it was cute, it was fun. But then we just continued. So a few things happened at the same time. Both businesses were growing, but what we did was, which is, I would say, unconventional in our industry at least, we said, you know what, we see that this is growing organically without us putting
running
too much
ads and stuff.
Not, this is without a full, in other words, if we provide our attention to this, like a real focus and attention, there's probably a possibility for this to grow even further, because organically it was growing nicely, because the value proposition is very simple. It's very attractive, I would say. Even it's free to join GETIDA, it's free to stay with GETIDA. We only charge a fee based on performance. So people are just having a good result, so they're kind of telling the other friends. So word of mouth, it was kind of growing organically nicely. So we said, you know what? Let's cash out of our retail positions. We didn't make it a splashy exit. We just liquid our balance sheet. We had about a $9 million balance sheet that we liquidated, and then put our focus and our attention, and of course the money that we had and the profits, because we kept on investing into GETIDA, into the technology at least. And once we made that pivot and that strategic move, and myself and my partner Max put all of our attention, motivation, creativity, love, whatever you want to call it, into just one thing and helping others, I would say that's when we kind of took leadership in the niche. And that was about 2000, late 2018, 2019. That was when we made the real pivot. And it made all the impact in the world, because I see a lot of the players out there, a lot of the solutions that are coming out for the Amazon market, they're really great, and they're born native, meaning somebody's tried to resolve for their own business, their retail business, so they offer it out. That's a good place to start. But as it grows, they just try to cling and hang on both models, which is okay. Some can swing it. But I humbly and sincerely believe that if you focus just on one, like all the way, you're probably going to bring the ultimate results. So in retail, we felt like internally, like we peaked. We did something that it's great. We can always go back to it. That's like our law degree. Remember how I law degree in Israel, which I never got? That's my law degree. How to sell on Amazon, how to do it at scale. I have it all in my toolbox here. So I feel like I have that confidence. If I ever need to go back to that, I'll do it. But to do both at the same time, it's really challenging, because guess what? When I have so much money on the line with inventory and anything happens, that comes first before any user that I have. That's ultimate truth. So for me, to be honest, to have all my clients firsthand in mind, I gotta detach from that position. So today, I'm proud to say that really, first and foremost, that's all we care about. Of course, with the reimbursement and anything beyond. Anything we can borrow from our experience that they're being tackled with, it could be suspensions, it could be just how to do it at scale, it could be hiring. We'll help them free of charge, just by being friendly, just by so you can call us like a recovery solution, but also a very friendly consultant out there that we engage a lot with content and conferences. A lot of that is borrowed from our experience. So because if you're struggling to scale from 100 grand to a million, we've been there. If it's a million to 2 million, we've been there. 2 million to 10 million, we've been there. So all these milestones that people are hanging now, free of charge. Take this is what I had. So I think it's the beyond impact, at least for GETIDA. For me, it's a lot of pleasure and joy. That's why I feel like in my natural waters, being with all these conferences, going back to the early beginning of this interview, it just, I'm in the game in a different dimension. I'm more like a cheerleader in a way for all these sellers. Of course, I have my core competency with recoveries, but there's definitely the beyond and the ability for me to communicate and interact with so many sellers with all these challenges they have, and I stay in touch with them. As they solve it, I help the other seller and the other seller, and just by kind of knowing what's going around the town, basically.
Yeah. So what's next? I mean, you don't have to answer this question, but you're an entrepreneur, right? I've got to ask the question, exit at some point. Do you see, you guys taking care of your families, cashing out? Or is it, some people just hold on? Because obviously you've got Carbon 6, you've got Assembly, you've got these different people in the space outside of aggregators that purchase Amazon-based businesses.
So before I touch that, let's try to kind of recap where we're at today with GETIDA. So
Okay, sorry,
yeah, no worries. So the reality today for GETIDA, I would humbly say that we're probably the largest organization in the world dedicated just for this mission. The mission is called Amazon AV Auditing and Reimbursements. We have a team of over 120 people in 6 countries. We audit billions of dollars worth of transactions every single day. We're an authorized solution provided by Amazon. So it means we have a commitment to the seller, but also to Amazon to make sure that we're terms of service compliant, data security, private policy. So we do have a unique relationship with Amazon, which we take a lot of pride in. We take it very seriously. That's kind of where we are today after all these years, about 7 years into the making. So what happens is that about a year ago, we did have an investor come in, Eitan Wiener, he's the CEO. He helps us a lot. Just a quick note about Eitan. He created 2 world-class organizations that both sold to public companies. One of them is the Prosper Show. Everybody kind of knows the Prosper Show. And then I guess probably one of the most important shows of the year for the industry, for the Amazon third-party sellers. And the second one is Quantum Networks. It was kind of pretty large retailer and also industry, an agency that also sold to a public company. So he came in. So after he did his earnouts, he had some time and money on his hand. He was a client, a GETIDA client all these years, which helped him a lot also during the exit, because when we recover money to you, it goes to your EBITDA, your earnings, right? And every dollar we generate in profit, you're able to get a multiple. That helped him a lot, by the way, on his way out. And once he had time and money on his hand, he looked around and he saw all the impact that we had. So he came in, and so that's where it is. So the strategy is he's today with us. How do we continue building this organization to be world class? Just expand. 80% of our business is US-based sellers, but more than about 20%, or maybe even a bit more, is from overseas. So it's from the UK, it's Europe. So how do we keep touching these communities over there? That's what we went to London back in February. I saw you there as well. Just continue with the mission. It goes back to the army. The mission driven is help as many sellers as we can through recoveries, but also the beyond. Hopefully this will, internally as we operate, whatever we could do very well. So this whole organization lasts for 30 plus years, right? So everybody has a good income. Right now, it's not about me anymore or my partners. We have all these employees. They want to get married, or they do get married. They want to buy houses. They want to buy cars. So there's a lot at stake for them. Once we realize you're in those dimensions. So how do we create the quality that it just lasts forever? And of course, if something strategic comes in terms of investment, or a rollout or a buyout, that's all very good, very nice. We get approached all the time. But for us, it's really how the strategy will implement itself with these partners long term. So all the stakeholders holders involved, which is the employees, myself, but also the sellers, the users. How to make sure nothing gets compromised with the quality and the strategy to be successful over time. And don't get lost, because if we bundle many things together, you can lose attention very easily, especially if you grab the talent. So let's say somebody buys me or buys GETIDA, and the GETIDA has its own thing, but then they say, oh, the leaders are there, we want to take them to solve another issue. Well, okay, we might solve the other strategic issue, but if GETIDA kind of becomes not as quality, not as successful or something like that, that's also internally how we look at it. That's what we get approached, we look at it, we try to analyze it, and if it ever works out, we'll do it. But for now, day to day, a little bit more. I say every day we come in, we try to improve things a little bit more, and over time we'll probably make some progress.
Cool. Legacy or money?
That's a tough one. No 50-50.
No, you can't sit on the fence. Not where you
so
are.
The question is, I'm doing this for the money,
are you
or
playing
for
legacy or money? And don't say both.
Mm.
Something that has to lead. Yeah, you can have money and build. People kind of dance around that. But then there's a follow-up question to that. So legacy or money?
I would say legacy. I think it's very, there's a blend of it, but I think this position I'm leaning a bit more towards the legacy, or just impact, positivity. Financially, we're okay. So I guess more on the legacy side of thing.
And how would you like to be remembered?
In the industry?
Just generally.
Just help
at your funeral.
Yeah.
What do you want them to talk about as you leave this world?
Yeah, nice guy, helpful guy. Simple. It doesn't have to be world breaking. It didn't change the world. Just it was nice. Anybody who could help, he helped, and that's all there is to it.
Great. That was your in-depth. How'd you feel?
This was therapeutic.
I was going to say, some people say that it's like being on the couch, but
I appreciate it. Yeah.
No, I just want to congratulate you on your success. It's been quite a rise for you. Over the last 7 years, as I said, when I'm out at the conferences all the time, but you're out more than me. Wherever I turn up, you seem to be there. And that's, I mean, how many countries have you done this year?
Oh, about 3 so far outside the U.S. 3 outside the U.S.
Yeah. Okay. How many conferences have you done? Because I thought you'd done more than that.
Oh, conferences? No, a lot of them are domestic, so I can't even
Yeah.
count, to be honest. It's almost every week. So today we're in I don't know, the 25th or 6th or 7th week of the year.
Yeah.
So probably 20 plus or something. I'm not sure even. I don't really count. I just, like
You
I
just get on
say,
the road and do it.
yeah, it's the military way of this is the mission this week.
Yeah.
Like it used to be, this is the mission on the ship. Go out to the ship, come back to land.
Yeah.
Same thing. I go out to the plane. Instead of a ship, it's a plane.
Yeah.
All very similar, to be honest. I don't know how this happened, all turned out, but I get the mission for this week. For example, tomorrow I'm heading out to Fort Lauderdale. I'm gonna go there, do a presentation, share something educational, come back. It's just 24 hours, something like that.
Mm.
So, but these education things that we're doing is not even about reimbursement. It's just to share the stuff that I used to do in the retail side of things, how to scale. The whole thing is going to be how to scaling. So I got the mission: share with others something that you know of, that you have experience with. 24
Yeah.
hours, take a plane, come back. So that's another ride that I'm gonna go for. So mission, the schedule, finish with it. I'm okay. I'm good. I'm eating much better than I did in the army. So let's put it this way.
Excellent. What's the best way that people can reach you?
So I'm pretty active on social media. You could just on Facebook or LinkedIn, Yoni Mazor. You can see, you can connect with me. I'll be happy to connect. My direct email, if anybody needs ever help at any time, it's yonim@getida.com, which is YONIM for mama @getida.com. Getida is GETIDA.com.
Excellent. Guys, thank you for joining us today. Yoni, thank you for joining us today. Sharon will be back in the chair tomorrow. Take care of yourself and your family. Much love. And